Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Noah Meagher, joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Ryan Anderson, who looks like he's about to fly away, and Jackson Muniz down at the bottom, who looks like he's about to drive away. So good to have them on the show. Good to be back after a little hiatus. Couldn't join you guys because school comes first, of course, but appreciate these two guys for filling out for me last week. So for tonight's episode, we actually are not going to be covering Santa Anita or any California racing. We have been assigned to cover some undercard stakes on Saturday, Preakness Day, the 17th, I believe. So we're going to be covering races 4, 6, 7, and 8 on that Preakness Saturday card for you guys. Looking forward to get into it. But before we do that, we've got to take care of some administrative stuff. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And then, of course, we've got the regular tip sheet. I know we're going to have some strong opinions, as I've already heard from Howard in the chat. We'll bring that up soon, but he's going to have some strong opinions for us this weekend. So go purchase those if you haven't, and then you can go purchase those and find out more about us at our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Ryan, let's go ahead and check in with you first. I hear you've got a little travel upcoming to a certain place in Baltimore for America's Best Racing. So tell us about that.
That's right. Friday morning, a nice bright 6:30 flight, fly out to Baltimore, land in there sometime Friday afternoon. Saturday, get out to Pimlico, going to enjoy Preakness Day. And then 3 p.m. Eastern through the Preakness Stakes, I'll be live on the ABR set with Dan Torgman, Rachel Miller, and plenty of other guests as we go through the late pick 5, races 9 through 13, maybe even race 14, that grade 1 Arabian race that I don't know why we're not covering that. That feels right up Pacific Horseplayers alley, if we're being completely honest. So we might need to make a note for the boss for next year. But I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be on all of America's Best Racing's socials, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, X, all the things, YouTube. So yeah, that'll be where you can find me.
Looks like you drew the short end of the stick there, Jackson, but good to have you here. And regardless of where you'll be, we got some great racing on tap for Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to it either way. Preakness should be good. Came up pretty strong. It seems like there was a lot of talk last week about who was going to show up, and turns out it's going to be pretty good field. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the undercard, and hoping we can cash some tickets.
Yeah, we actually don't have that on the schedule, but maybe we'll
should
tip out who we like in that race. So
we should.
Let's continue with the scheduled hearing, and that is starting with race 4 on Saturday. Let me go ahead and get that up on the screen here. Echo Base, of course. First, you know the drill. For some reason, it is not.
Only when you're the host, though. When I'm hosting in your place, there's no shot Echo Base gets thrown up there because that's too many buttons to click.
Can you guys see that? It says it's sharing.
We cannot.
You cannot see that. Okay, let me figure this out.
Ooh, bad host.
Let me do it this way.
It's not your first week, bro. Come on.
You guys really not see that? I haven't done anything different.
Cannot see it. Change the layout on the bottom row there to allow.
That's what I'm doing.
Wow, this guy's a menace right now.
Okay, I'll read out the names for you guys.
29 shows. You would think I don't know what to do. It's just not.
This guy takes 1 week off.
Let's see if
comes back rustier than a bucket of nails. Never seen anything like
that. There we go. Now we go.
Hey.
Sorry for that, everyone. There's probably some people complaining in the chat, but we can check that out later. First race that we're going to be talking about is race 4. It's a Maryland Sprint, grade 3, and boy, is there some speed in this race. I was texting these guys earlier. A lot of speed. Certainly going to be a pretty quick pace. And the rain that will be in the forecast might even have something to do with that as well. Let me go ahead and get our picks up on the screen for the first race that we're going to be talking about. And there they are right there. I'm going 6.72. Ryan's going 6.24. And Jackson going 7.63. Jackson's trying to beat the favorite with the number 7 Epic Ride at 5-1 on the line for Pratt and John Ennis.
Yeah, look, Booth is really, really good, and there's no doubt about it. He's been phenomenal this year, and his races 2 and 3 back would win this race by open legs, no doubt about it. It's just I'm a little concerned that he took a step back last time. I didn't really see any major excuse. Not like that was No, this is just a prep race to get him to the Maryland Sprint Stakes on Preakness Day. Like I don't think that was probably the case there. I think he just may have regressed. Like he still got his easy lead like he usually does. He went fast enough, but I don't know. I wanted to see him run better than he did, and that number hasn't exactly come back to be like, it's not like that number's come back and been proven wrong. If anything, it's gone the other direction. So I think he's worth taking a shot against, and you're at a super short price. I have no problem with Epic Ride in this race. He's in really good form now. He's 4-year-old's done really well. He's drawn great on the outside. He's got the best ride in the country. He's going to get that stock and pound strip that works really well in these sprint stakes races, and he's kind of an up-and-comer. I think his last race was a little underrated, where he kind of did the dirty work the whole time in the Commonwealth, breaking towards the inside, chasing a very, very fast pace that day. And I think now in today's race, he's going to be able to just park himself on the outside. He'll get the run of the race. Is he good enough to beat Booth on his best day? No, he's definitely not. But if we get the Booth that showed up last time, I think he can absolutely be right there.
Yeah, and he was kind of in chase mode last time and ran into a horse on the front end in Montalcino. It's a nice sprinter for Cherie DeVaux that ran pretty much a bang-up race and just got nabbed by Extra Anejo. But I would consider him probably the close second in the division, probably right behind Booth on his best day. So it's not like he was, running against a lower class in the Commonwealth last time at Keeneland. That was a pretty good field. And like you said, was part of that hot pace. I guess the question would be whether those races on the synthetic and the numbers that he got can be matched onto the dirt. But then again, I think he's got a little upside because some of these runners have run over a wet surface before, and he hasn't. And it looks like, if anything, that could maybe move him up a little bit. So maybe a little bit of upside in that scenario. So that's why I've got him in second. Obviously, Jackson, you've got him on top for some of the reasons that you mentioned. Let's talk about the favorite, Ryan, because you and I both have him on top. The number 6 Booth, 7-5 on the line, maybe a little bit low for a win bet, but he's just, in tip-top form right now, and certainly his best should get the job done.
Yeah, look, there's a ton of pace in here, and I understand the point on Epic Ride. The reason he's out of my top 3 is I feel like he's really at his best when he's on the lead. That's really where the majority of his wins have come, and I don't think he's going to get that, even if the favorite weren't going to break sharp. So that's the only reason he's out of my top 3. But by all means, I do respect him. But I think Booth, as far as sprinters go, when you try and beat them, you got to see if they're quick out of the gate. If they're not, Skelly is the other dirt sprinter. He isn't always quick out of the gate. That's come to compromise him with him being a need the lead type. But Booth breaks like a rocket every single time. He's very consistent. Certainly, as he started his 4-year-old season, he's always been really sharp out of the gate. He looks like the speed of the speed. Even though there's a ton of it, I still think he's able to get clear. And 6 furlongs, if this was 6.5, if this was 7, I'm probably playing against him. But 6 furlongs is his game. 5 wins out of 7 tries at the distance. He's 3 for his last 3. He's in great form right now. Again, a little bit of regression last time out, but I mean, you can't go much higher than a 107 unless you're, a superb animal. So it's possible that was just a bounce effort. Should come in here off about, about 5-6 weeks of rest. I'm anticipating a pretty good showing. So Booth is a lone A on top for me.
Yeah, top pick for me as well. Never would, place a win bet, especially with the amount of speed, but it just feels like either he clears or he just sits right off of the 5, because I think that's probably the other speedy threat that can maybe screw things up for him early on in the race. Let's go to the chat before we talk about some others. Of course, Katie was here. She was here at 8:20, and we started filming this at 9:30, so just over an hour early Katie was. Let's see who else is in the chat. Travis Diaz, I don't know if I've heard your name, but thanks for joining the show. He actually wants to hear our thoughts on race 5. Unfortunately, we will not be covering that, but that actually might be covered in the Power Picks tip sheet if you are a subscriber to that, Travis. And then he asked another question. He says, my best value at the moment, race 12, number 8, which unfortunately is another race that we won't be talking about. But I believe race 12 will be covered tomorrow night on Picks and Ponies. So Travis, go check that out. I believe that's either 8 or 8:30 Eastern. Maybe somebody can correct that for me in the chat. Let's see who else we got. Rob N. Wet week in the Mid-Atlantic, of course. James is here. Howdy all. Let's see who else we got. Ed Burke has a question. Let's throw this to you, Jackson. Does the 7 need the lead to win, or is it in Pratt we trust? Is that how you see it? Oh, he's muted.
Muted
in the vehicle.
It was for your guys' benefit. I don't think he really needs lead to win necessarily. I mean, he hasn't maybe won off lead, but he's more than capable of passing horses and still running well. Most of those races going longer too, so I think going the 6 furlong, the flat 6, he'll be fine. That's not really a concern I have. It's more, is he good enough to win or not?
Yeah, and that show is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So thank you, Howard, for throwing that in the chat.
One more quick note on the comment section while we're pulling it up. Howard put in Noah and Jackson's Angels with a nice comeback versus my Padres. Tatis walked y'all off yesterday, so I don't know why we're getting no credit for also getting a win, but we can move on.
Because y'all are like 30-12 and we lost the 15-30 Angels. Are you really?
We're the Padres. We lose better than anybody in the league.
Do the Angels have a single starter that would start on the Padres? I don't think they do.
Mike Trout?
And he's not even playing right now.
Oh, big surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Actually,
that really ruffled some feathers, didn't it? Let's go to horse.
I hope we win tonight. I will have eternal bragging rights. We beat you guys in a 3-game series on the road.
Yeah, on the road, we're an hour and a half south.
You act like we have fans that travel. Come on.
All right.
Ryan, you and I have the number 2 Prince of Jericho in the mix. I've got him third. You've got him second. A very consistent type. He just, seems to be around late, first, second, third, in a majority of his races last year. Off a bit of a freshening for the Russell family here.
Yeah, these are common connections that you see up in, Maryland, up in this on this circuit. So this is a trusted one. They come back in a stakes race, which I like to see. Seems like that campaign last year probably took a little bit out of him. So I'm happy he comes in fresh. Pretty much raced nonstop from February to February. So comes in off about, I don't know what that is, like 3 months, give or take. So that's a nice block of time for Brittany Russell, 18% off this type of layoff. Shows right back up in a stakes race. This runner, a little bit tactical, a little bit versatile, can kind of come from off of it, can win on the lead. I think this one's better with a target. So that's kind of what I thought was maybe this one is, sitting that pocket trip behind, 3 if they line up. I think Booth gets loose on the lead. But if they do line up, I think Prince of Jericho sits right behind and is going to get that jump along with going to be kind of sitting inside of the number 7 Epic Ride. But I want to take this one a bit more of a price. So Prince of Jericho in second for me.
Yeah, he's a very consistent type. And, people might make the case that, he kind of tailed off at the end of his campaign at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But, he ran 10 or 11 races in about 11 or 12 month span. So he was trying to fire his best ever so often, but finally gets a break. And like I said, just a consistent type. I think he's one of 2 horses in this race that actually have experience over the Pimlico surface, which if they do get some rain, which it looks like they will, can't hurt at all. He's got a second and a third in Baltimore, Maryland. So he's a safe bet, I feel like, to maybe finish in the money, hopefully sitting that trip right off the speed. Let's go back to you, Jackson. You've got the horse just to his outside. Celtic contender, lost to Bookham Daniel last time, who I believe ran a very close 3rd or 4th a couple weeks ago in that action-packed Churchill Downs. He's off a little bit of a layoff himself and a nice 8-1 on his price.
Yeah, just a underneath price kind of thing. I don't really view him as a major win contender, but I do think he's going to be one that's coming from off the pace. I know he's been on the lead lately. That's been going 7-0 and with a lot of speed in here. Don't think he makes the lead. Probably gets the trip he did back on October 12th at Laurel, going 6 furlongs where he came from mid-pack. I think it's probably the trip he's going to get in this spot. Is he good enough to win? Again, I don't think so. I don't think he can compete with the best of the best in here, but I do think he's a horse you could maybe keen underneath and tries.
Yeah, another one with some versatility. And the last horse we will touch on is the 490% Maddie. You've got this horse in third, Ryan, who basically on paper seems to be the only true closer in the race.
Yeah, that was ultimately what ended up with me. That's why I took this one in third. Sorry, I lost my words there. But second off the bench after that comeback effort at Parks last time out. Again, just a true closer. If they really heat things up and they melt down on the front end, 90% Maddie's going to be coming from way out of it. Butch Reed really only shows up in spots where he's going to be aggressive and he's going to, come to win. He does it at Aqueduct all the time. I don't see why Pimlico this weekend is going to be any different. So I think 90% Maddie has a real shot to round out the trifecta if they heat things up front.
Yeah.
Talk about the 5 real quick, since we're already talking about every other horse except the second choice.
Yeah, let's talk about the 5. Jackson, you want to talk about the 5?
Yeah, I mean, none of us have him anywhere. He's going to probably be a price presence in here, I would think, but I don't know. I don't trust Irad to send on a horse he probably should send.
Because he's not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's not something Irad does usually, and
It's not.
Yeah.
I hope he goes to the lead and softens up the 6 horse a little bit, but we'll see. I don't really view him as a major weight contender. He's had his chances for me. I think it's probably the 6 or 7, but I think we should at least bring him up.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah. For all the reasons Jackson said, he's inside of the main speed in the race. Irad isn't going to send. He's just not. He's not the guy that's going to quarter horse him out of there. He'll get position. We know that he's going to do that. But if Eric Asmussen and Booth are intent on clearing him, he's really the only other major pace presence. If this was Luis Saez on Concrete Glory instead of Irad, or another more aggressive rider in terms of getting to the front, then maybe we have a different conversation. But I believe Eric Asmussen and Booth are going to be hustled to the lead pretty much at all costs. And if he gets there, it's his race to lose. And I don't think Irad's going to be as aggressive as he'll need to be to push Booth.
I just think Booth being in the race, not even necessarily to his outside, but just in the race in general, doesn't necessarily help his chances, because it seems like when he's gotten the lead, he's gotten it pretty comfortably. Actually, I know the race 2 back, he kind of got pressed, but I think he does his best when he's not pressed. And it just, even if he was to the outside, it'd be kind of hard to see him, at least in my mind, to imagine him kind of going by Booth and then holding off the likes of the 2, 3, 7, maybe even the 4, if he's really good on Saturday. So.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, yeah, Irad can go press Booth, but that's going to be at a detriment to Irad at the end of the day. He's probably it's going to burn up his horse. So I think Irad is looking to give his horse the best chance to win rather than compromise the favorite. So that might also come into play. Maybe I'm overthinking on that one. I just feel like, he's going to want to sit off the pace if Booth is sending through a 21 and 44 half mile, which he's probably going to, because he's done it in his 2 of his last 3 races. So I feel like that's a real possibility where Irad's going to sit behind, and he'll get a good second because he'll be best of the rest. But again, I think Booth is fast enough to be loose and quick out of the gate.
Yeah, and if Booth being outside of him, if they think that's kind of forced their hand, that also hurts his chances. But it might also hurt the chances of Booth, because they might just kind of duel each other into submission. So could set up for some other prices in here. So interesting and speedy rendition of the Maryland Sprint. I'm going 6.72. Ryan's going 6.24. And Jackson is going 7.63. Next race we're going to be talking about is actually race 6. So we are skipping race 5. Moving on to race 6. Race 6 is the Skip-At Stakes. I believe I said that right. I have a history of not pronouncing things correctly. It is a $125,000 purse, 6 furlongs for older fillies and mares, field of 7, and one horse that we are very familiar with because she is based out in the West Coast. That is your morning line favorite, the 3-1 Magic Filly for Flavian Pratt and Phil D'Amato. And the second choice, right next to her in terms of odds, is the 5 Zeitlos, Jose Ortiz, Steve Asmussen, again at 2-1. Let's see who we are going with in this race. Jackson and myself are very similar. We're actually having the same top 3, and cue the copying picks jokes. But Ryan is going with the 7. I'm going 5-3-7. Ryan's going 7-3-1, and Jackson's going 5-3-7. So we will start with Ryan because he is the odd man out. He's going with the New York-based horse Striker Has Dial, Kendrick Harmouche, Horacio De Paz at a third choice of 5-2. Ryan.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The off Lasix maybe concerns me a tad bit, but this horse is in really good form right now. I get that the last 2 races have come basically sitting really nice trips off of slow paces. I don't see why he's not going to sit, isn't going to sit a nice pace off of what I think is going to be a mediocre pace. I don't think they're going to be blazing up front. I don't think they're going to be crawling. I think Kendrick's going to have this horse forward because that's what Kendrick does when he's in the saddle. And honestly, I think this is just the horse that's going to trip out. Added blinkers in his last 2, and those have really seemed to sharpen him up and getting him to, focus as they come down the lane. He might have lost focus for that middle section when he was without blinkers, but I think this is where he's at his best. I think he's going to trip out with a nice outside stalking trip. Third choice at 5-2. Morning line on this one feels accurate. I think I'll get about that. So I feel like Striker Has Dial is going to be my top play in here.
I like it. I respect him. I want to hear your thoughts, Jackson, because I don't know if she classes up to the 2, but I'll let you touch on her first, and then I'll add on.
Yeah, she's fine. I mean, this isn't the deepest race ever, so I won't be surprised if she runs well. She's drawn well in this race. I just don't know. I just think the 5's best efforts are better than everyone else's best effort. That's why I went the 5. Isn't the
Oh, we're losing you, Jackson. We heard 2 words of that. I heard 5 twice.
Am I back?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm back now?
So back.
Okay. I just don't think she's been facing much out at Aqueduct. I know the numbers have been okay. She's gotten some good trips. I agree with Howard. It's a big class test for her. We'll see. I'm not going to be surprised if she runs well because this isn't the greatest field ever, but I'm going to use others.
No doubt, but the other 2 are coming off of layoffs, so this one at least has the fresh legs in good form. So I wanted to give this one a shot. Not a single by any means on horizontal tickets, but just top play in here.
Yeah, she does, and I think you'd probably agree with this, Jackson. I just kind of think she's probably the 3rd likeliest winner. I mean, she's very good. She probably hasn't really faced anyone compared to who the other 2 have faced. But like you said, Ryan, if they don't show up off the bench, she gets a really good trip, which it seems like she could. She is definitely one to consider and can definitely win this race. Let's talk about the 5, Jackson, because you said her best races are good enough to get the job done. Certainly, you think that race 2 back in the TCA at Keeneland is good enough. Coming off of a long layoff out of the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, where the 2 and the 5 actually faced each other. But what thinks that she's gonna, or what makes you think that she's gonna turn the tables on Saturday?
I just think her best effort is better than the rest in this field. I think she's got the class over this group, and Ryan kind of mentioned there's not a lot of speed. So if they do turn this into a kick for home, I think she's got the best kick. I think she's going to be the one that's going to be able to outrun him to the wire. And, the layoff is a bit of a concern, I guess. But again, this is not the best group we're ever going to see. I'm going to use just the 5 in here because I don't have a strong opinion. I'm not going to waste equity betting horses I don't like. It'll be just the 5. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll move on to the next race, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This could be a starting spot, I guess, but she's been training pretty consistently, and I think I'm with you, Jackson. Nothing that you haven't said on her best day. I think she is able to get the job done. And actually, I do notice this now. She's 2 for 2 over a wet track, which does not hurt. You can see she got the job done back in February of last year at Oakland on a sloppy track, and then actually an off the turf race. She was able to get the job done at even money back in May. So about a year ago. So she's got that success and experience under her belt, which does not hurt. Let's talk about the 3. Obviously, like I said, a horse that we're very familiar with. She, like I said, beat the 5 way back when at the beginning of November in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Since then, a bit of a disappointing effort in the La Brea Ryan. But it turns out the winner of that race has turned into quite the monster.
Yeah, Copian's an absolute freak. But again, just one coming off the bench. I didn't want to put this one on top. Going to be too short of a price. Her form's pretty muddied up. I like the blinkers off move. I think it's going to just get her to relax a little bit more, considering she likes to come from off the pace. So a logical second choice. I'm pretty against Zeitlos, if you couldn't tell by me not having her in my top 3. I just didn't think there was going to be enough pace, but Pratt's going to have one Magic Filly in such a good spot. Phil D'Amato, pretty underrated when he ships to Maryland. He is, he doesn't do it much. He's only had 4 total runners in the past 5 years. He's 3 for 4 in the money. He's got 2 wins. I believe at least one of those wins came on turf with, what was that, Balnikov? Yeah, last year on that bog that they were running on.
Yeah.
So again, it's not a move he makes a whole lot, but when he makes it, it's certainly something to pay attention to. I do think one Magic Filly is going to fire a really nice race. I just wanted to kind of get creative and choose a different horse on top, but she's one I definitely respect a lot in here.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jackson. I kind of have reason to believe that this wasn't the original plan. You can see that up until the 28th, they were, working obviously at Santa Anita, and then they shipped to Churchill, which I find there a reason to believe that they were trying to get into the Derby City Distaff, but they just didn't. They didn't get in because I think there were 13 or 14 horses that ended up running in that race. So it feels like they shipped with the intention of running in that race. And then they saw this spot and decided, let's wait 2 weeks because we're already 3/4 away across the country. Obviously she's worked well since then, but I don't know. Is that far-fetched, or do you think that could be some logical reasoning?
That's probably is what happened. I didn't really consider that, to be honest with you. it's probably a good sign then in her favor. Because I was kind of against her. I just don't think she's that good, to be completely honest with y'all. The race at Del Mar, she won by open lengths. I mean, Noki is not the best horse in the world. She won the Grade 3 at St. Anita against Irish Wahine, who's a Calbred allowance horse. Like, the horses she's been beating are just not that great. The Breeders' Cup Philly Bear Sprint was just awful last year when Ways and Means didn't show up. I mean, that form has been atrocious, as you can see, and she's kind of proven it when she came back in La Brea at 3-2, 7-5, and wasn't even close. I mean, she ran terrible. So I just don't know how good she really is. I don't know how good the field she's been facing are. And now she might just be better than the field she's facing today. That could be very, very true. But I don't know. I prefer others in the spot because I think she's going to be a pretty clear favorite.
Well, also the one win in Graded Stakes Company, it was number 1 a 4-horse field, and number 2 she went up against Sweet Azteca, who was a monster at the time, but obviously didn't run well that day, and we haven't seen her since. So maybe people are giving a little more credit than she deserves for that win. And then even since then, she kind of was just. I mean, she was part of the mix at the Breeders' Cup, but like you said, Jackson, that race has been a little disappointing. And then disappointing last time. She's been off for a while. Blinker's off. I don't really know what to do with. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think this is maybe one you'll want to see the board on, but I'm with you, Jackson. I'm kind of all the 5 in here. Let's go to one more horse because we do have another one in the mix. Since you are against the 5, Ryan, why don't you give us some reasoning behind why the number 1 Apple Picker could maybe catch a piece in here?
Yeah, I mean, this runner likes this distance and likes the surface of Pimlico, so those are 2 positives. Again, Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell, who might be Brittany Russell might be the most consistent trainer in America. All of her horses just seem to show up time and again. This is no exception, 8 out of 17 in the exacta there. But coming in fresh, one that likes to come from off the pace. Again, I don't think there's a ton of pace in here. Not one I have a ton of confidence in, but one I would maybe use underneath. Knowing that I'm going to fade the 5 Zeitlos on top, when I would probably, maybe key in 3rd, maybe in 4th if I were to play a super, but I doubt it. But just one I think is a logical underneath use, who clearly likes the track. If there's moisture in it, I don't think that hurts her in any way, as she has a win over the wet track in this race last year. Yeah,
like you said, I was just going to say that won this race last year. That was with an 80 buyer. I don't think that's going to quite get the job done. But hey, if things set up for her, she obviously likes the track, so give her something underneath.
Yeah, you never know. An 85 buyer won the Grade 1 La Troyenne on the Derby undercard. So hey, sometimes an 80 buyer gets it done. Sometimes they don't show up, and you get an 85 buyer to the win.
He just tried to throw that in there, right, Jackson?
I wish there was any kind of decent speed horse in that race because I think they'd be awfully dangerous. Like a horse that's like 7 or 8 points too slow, but it's a clear speed. Like the only speed horse in there is 20 points too slow to win that race. So. Not a race I have a whole lot of confidence in.
Yeah, it's an interesting race for sure. I don't have a lot of confidence in what I just heard because it was.
I have the same amount of confidence in a speed horse as I do your microphone. So
it's all right. We're working with it.
We're making it work. All right.
We're making it work.
We'll move on to race 7, but in race 6, I'm going 5-3-7. Ryan's going 7-3-1, and Jackson is copying me with 5-3-7. Let's go ahead and move on to the next race. That is the solo turf race that we're going to be talking about tonight. Is race 7, the Gallaret Stakes, Grade 3, $150,000 purse. You've got older fillies and mares going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf course. It'll be interesting to see how that turf course holds up with the moisture that they're supposed to get and the rain that we see in the forecast. Field of 9, and the morning line favoritism goes to the German Invader. The 7, 3 Havanas. Joel Rosario, Christophe Clement at 5-2. Second choice goes to the outside in the 9. Way to be Marie for Junior Alvarado, Kentucky Derby winning jockey, and the trainer conditioner is Rob Atras. Let's go ahead and get our picks up on the screen, and we certainly think this race is wide open. I'm going 3-2-7. Ryan's going 1-6-8, and Jackson is going 8-6-9. I think it's Jackson's turn. So I'm going to throw it to him with the quiet mic to talk about the number 8 Sparkle Blue, Jorge Ruiz. Motion's got 2 in here. This is the outside runner at 5-1. Jackson, what you like about this 6-year-old mare?
Yeah, I'll go first, and I'll be quick in case my mic just disappears again. Is it working right now?
Yeah,
loud and clear. Maybe too loud.
Look, I just don't think this is again, this is the deepest race ever. Horses are going to take money. Like, Clean the Mud is fine, but her best races are coming California against Lesser. We don't know what to do with the European horse yet. Way to Be Marie I don't think she's that great, to be honest. She's coming off Lasix, Fairgrounds form, typically does transfer. It just feels like the 8 is the right kind of horse in this race, where this is kind of where she usually.
Oh, we lost you, brother.
We're losing him.
My back?
Kind of.
Very quietly.
Test.
Yep. It's the best show on the internet right now, by the way.
Yeah, we're killing it today, guys. I'm done.
Dude, you got to stop moving your hand.
Yeah. Oh. All right, he's gonna fix his mic.
That's gone too good. Maybe he's trying to join on his phone or something. Ryan, why don't you talk about her, because you got her in third? So
yeah, no, Sparkle Blue certainly deserves a shot, and I want to give a shout to the favorite here afterward. But I see you have that one in third, so I know we'll get around to talking about her. Sparkle Blue, I thought, had a shot. This is one of those races where it's just going to come down to whatever horse kind of just trips out in here. There's some pace, but there's no confirmed speed horses. There's no Kehoe Beaches in a race like this. So. Sparkle Blue, I think, can sit a very tactical trip. Jorge Ruiz is Grand Motion's kind of go-to guy up at this Maryland circuit. This is a pretty consistent horse. Maybe has some issues finishing some races off, but when you're running behind Saffron Moon, I'll go ahead and forgive that 2 back in the Hillsborough at Tampa. Run against some good runners. Again, ultra consistent. Kind of just fires her race and everything except for the I think that's the Dance Smart Grade 2 stakes at Woodbine. But seeing as she ran so poorly in there and that was followed by a layoff. I'm willing to kind of forgive that. But looking back, she's a picture of consistency. So, she's going to fire her race. She's going to come from off the pace. And maybe she'll be good enough on Saturday to get a piece of it. She certainly seems to be rounding into form third off the bench.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Jackson, I think you were going to maybe say some stuff. I will say that last start, I believe, was probably just a local prep in the Delia that listed state to get her ready for Saturday. Maybe a little disappointing that she didn't get the job done at 3-2. But does that concern you at all? Obviously not that much because you've got her on top.
No, I just think she's going to be the value horse in this race. I don't think there's a whole lot of separation between the favorite and some of these second tier horses. And she runs really well consistently typically. So, and another feather in her cap is her best race ever came on the wet track at Churchill. So, she closed from way out of it into a slow pace. That was her best race. And again, I don't think this is the greatest field ever, so I think she's going to be the right kind of price, and she's more than capable of putting up numbers that'll win this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I'm going to use her. I think I'm going to use both motions. I'm going to use quite a bit of horses in this race. Ryan, you've actually got a horse that I'm not going to be using. We don't need to talk about why, but you've got the number 1 Dana's Beauty, 6-1. She's got both turf and synthetic form. 7-year-old mare. At this point in her career. So very seasoned, very professional, and one that knows how to find a way to get her picture taken.
Yeah, no doubt. But she might be, up there as a 7-year-old now, but she's done nothing but run well. And honestly, the older they get, if they're in the Mike Maker barn, the better they get. This one has some turf races to get back to. I mentioned this is kind of going to be the race where a horse is going to trip out and just win. They may not be maybe the best horse, but this horse has been the favorite in each of her last 5 races. She's won 3 of those 5. She lost one by a head and then finished third. So she's run basically to what she's been expected to do. More often than not, she's well traveled. In her past 5 races, they've been at 4 different tracks. So thank you, Katie. I see that you're also picking the one on top. I think Jose's going to have this one sitting probably right behind the pace, but she could also go take the lead if nobody else is, gunning for it. But I think she's just going to sit in the right trip. I think if Jose kind of hugs the rail as they turn for home, every jockey in North America loves to get off the rail as they turn home in a turf race. So, a rail should be open for Dana's Beauty. But either way, I think this one's going to trip out and certainly has a kick. And going from favorite in her last 5 to now a nice 6-1, that's certainly going to merit some of my money being wagered on her.
I think she's a little bit like the 8 where, she's got some better races behind her on turf. And, unfortunately I think it was her one try, at least of recency on a good surface was not her best, which maybe might, increase the price a little bit. People would be worried that maybe she can't handle it. But it seems, Ryan, like it's hard to imagine this race without her getting a pretty good trip, probably just like, in the pocket, right behind the speed. If somebody on the lead tips out a little bit, maybe Jose can find a room to run down on the rail, I do think it's interesting that out of all of the mounts, Jose ends up here. So obviously can't hurt with the way that he's riding, especially the way that he performed out at Fairgrounds. You can see he's 24% for the year. So nothing to sneeze at there. That's certainly one that can get the job done. Let's go to some others. Jackson, I want you to talk about the 6 because I found it a little interesting that you prefer the 6 over the 1, even though the 1 beat her last time in the Latonia.
Yeah, with the 6, you're hoping that she just didn't handle the turf by track too well because she didn't race particularly great there. If you're a time form user, you actually are supposed to like this horse quite a bit. I mean, the 2 most recent turf numbers she earned are every bit as good as anything else anyone's done in this field. So if you can believe those numbers, she's much shorter than 8-1 in this spot. And I also think there's a lot of speed in here. I mean, the 3 is going to go, the 4 is going to go, the 5 is going to go, the 1 wants to sit the pocket, the 2 wants to sit the pocket. There's a chance this thing really heats up, and I think she's got one of the best kicks in this field. And if she can come running late at a price, I'm going to have her. Especially maybe you won't get 8-1 with Irad riding, but you definitely will have a good chance with Irad riding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk you off her. I think she's probably another one that I'm going to use. Obviously, you can kind of tell by those time form numbers, it looked like she was kind of getting better and better as she progressed throughout her career. And then those 2 races at Turfway, maybe just a little below maybe some standards. And she was another one. I think there are 2 or 3 coming out of the Endeavor, the race that she ran 3 back where she lost to Saffron Moon. And she was 6-1 in that spot. And that was off a layoff. So obviously the public respected her. And she was bet well in those 2 Turfway races too. So maybe get an even higher price this time on Saturday. Let's go. Let's talk about the horse that I like. I like the number 3 Ocean Club, 15-1 on the line. Ed makes a good point. If Howard likes her, if I like her, and he likes her, she's probably not going to be 15-1. Ed, I hate to tell you, I don't think she's going to be 15-1 anyway. I don't know if I agree with the statement that there's a lot of speed in here, but I do think there are maybe a decent amount of horses that want to be forward. But I think this is probably the speed of the speed. And I've kind of found over the last couple years, because they've gotten some rain at Pimlico the last couple of years, that the Preakness has rolled around. I feel like it's a little tough to make up ground when you get some moisture in the track. And I see a legitimate scenario where she takes them the whole way. She was setting a really hot pace, basically a suicidal pace in the Endeavor, which she was one of the couple that were in that race. And she switched over to the Bumgarner barn. Last time I thought her race was a little better than it looks on paper. It just kind of looks like she plodded around, but she kind of got caught in a weird spot. She was wide the whole time. That's not really what she wants to do. She was kind of in chase mode. I think she prefers to be on the lead. You see some of her races, like you go back to the race back in September at Aqueduct. She got a pretty nice lead and was tough to get by. And then you go back down to the Monroe, which is back in May when she was on the lead, and she was tough to get by that day too. So it feels like if Johnny V puts her on the lead and she sets some pretty reasonable fractions, I think she's going to be tough to pass. I know we talked about the 1's going to be close. The 2 we'll quickly mention is going to be close. It's other motion runner, maybe to set things up for the 8 possibly. I think in a weird way, the 4 is the key to the race because she's fast, but I don't know if she's necessarily going to be on the lead with the long layoffs. So I just see a scenario where if Johnny V, doesn't necessarily walk the dog, but gets a pretty reasonable pace, I just think she's going to be really tough to catch. Either you have a comment on that?
Yeah, we're relying on Johnny V to be aggressive out of there and to, really, really establish lead. That was the only thing that gave me pause. Not that I think that's worthy necessarily of dismissing this runner. Charlie Freeman also likes Ocean Club. I believe it was his top pick on the day when we were talking earlier today on the Final Furlong podcast with Emma Kennedy. He does. So I think 15-1 is unlikely. And I wouldn't take lower than 12-1 because I think she's really got to get to the lead. She's really got to sustain the run. And there are a lot of question marks there, but certainly one that's worthy of consideration if you think that she can get on the lead with a reasonable tempo.
And Jackson, you look at her just flat out numbers, buyer and time form, high 80s, low 90s. Then you go to time form, 114, 115, 118. I mean, for a 15-1 shot, I mean, that's that's up there. I mean, you look at some of the others, Austere, her turf races are right around there. I'll talk about the 7 in just a minute, but the 8s are right there. The 9s are right there too. I feel like just based off of numbers, she shouldn't really be 15-1, and I think it's worth taking a shot.
No, yeah, she should probably be at half of that. And I'm not going to try to talk you off her. For me, I do think this pace is going to be pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think the 1 and 2 both want that same pocket trip. They're right next to each other. They're going to have to battle to get it. And then if the 4 and 5 are not sending, why the heck are they entering this race? I mean,
well, I don't.
Unless they just want to be on. Look at me. I'm at Preakness Day. Like, why are you entered? Go.
Can we talk about how it's not really fair that the 5 just gets to run around with no jockey? I feel like that's even though it's a long shot, feels like an unfair advantage.
Well, if you guys watch Betting and Boozing, it's the return of No Rider. He's actually got he himself has a couple mounts. I know the Betting and Boozing show, they were talking about that. He's got a couple mounts on Friday and Saturday. Looks like he could have a pretty big weekend. And like you said, Ryan, he's pretty light.
He is. He gets in light every time.
We got quite a few more runners to talk about because we do think this race is so wide open. I'm going to go to this horse first. Jackson, you've got Way to Be Marie in third. Came off of a nice win last time, March 22nd, down at Fairgrounds. She was the favorite that day. Another one that I think could maybe sit a trip in behind the speed, and probably one that you've got to use on your horizontals.
Yeah, I think she'd get the right kind of trip in here. I'm going to be all 6-8 in my horizontals. So I'm just going to use those 2 as much better prices, and I think they have pretty equal chances to horses like the 7 and the 9. So needed someone in third. I think she'll get the right kind of trip. Tough post, but again, I do think there'll be a lot of speed. She's got a decent late run to her, and that's kind of what the hope is for this horse because, her best numbers do put her right there. I just don't think at 3-1, that's an awfully short price to swallow in a field like this.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I was a little bit against her. Ryan, do you really have a strong opinion against her, or just 3 others that you put in your top 3 that you prefer?
I had Way to Be Marie 4th, but for the same reason, I'm against the 7 in 3 Havanas, I think is that one's name. Just has a very similar running style, very similar form, just a shorter price. I wanted to try and pick some prices where they have the established form. They're going to run very similar races. And again, Way to Be Marie, maybe a little bit post compromise, being out at the 9 post versus a horse to the inside. So again, nothing against this runner. She can certainly win. If I'm playing horizontal, she will probably be on my ticket as I have her 4th, but I will not have the 7.
Yeah, I'm going to mention a couple of reasons why I'm quite a bit against the number 9 Way to Be Marie. Number 1, Jackson mentioned it, price. Number 2, she ran on March 22nd, which was actually the same day that the race named after Jackson was run. That was the Muniz
Memorial.
Yeah, the Muniz Memorial. And going into the Turf Classic, everyone was talking about Cameo Performance and how he was running up on the chewed up part of the turf. But Way to Be Marie was on the rail the entire time, snuck up the rail on the stretch and was running on the best part of the turf course. So she was inside the whole time. It's hard for me to believe that she's going to be inside unless Junior works out quite a bit of a trip to be able to navigate over towards the rail. Number 3, which I guess is a 2-parter, 3A, all of her wins are at Fairgrounds, and 3B, because of that, all of her wins are on Lasix. So 3-4-ish reasons why I don't like her. Obviously,
those are all valid.
Obviously, your opinion, if you're in the chat, if you like her, I'm not going to talk you off. I mean, it's your money. You can do whatever the hell you want. But those are the reasons why I will not be betting her, and probably why I won't have her in the mix if I'm playing horizontals.
How about her career best that came off Lasix on a wet turf course?
Where's that at?
Edgewood.
Oh, in Edgewood. That's a good point. I can respect that. But
that was one of the reasons I had her in 4th. But you brought up a lot of good points, especially out of that last race with her hugging the rail. But I still think she's a talented horse, and she'll run her race. So, but one I'm against.
Yeah, she can certainly win. I think this race is pretty impossible. Definitely the most wide open race that we're going to be talking about. I think the last horse that we will talk about is actually the morning line favorite, 3 Havanas, German Invader, like I mentioned earlier. She looks like if it does come up soft, that will only be to her advantage. This is an acquisition for Christophe Clement, Joao Rosario. I'll just kind of leave the floor open to either of you if you want to comment, obviously why you guys don't like her.
typically with these Euro invaders, or in this case, a German invader, I just look for better running lines, better races they've been in against. She's been running pretty short. Jackson's smiling for some reason. I would let him talk, but we wouldn't be able to hear him. The Lil Bro Invitational. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, I don't know. She can certainly win, but I don't want to take Joelle Rosario. It's going to be probably less than 5-2, probably around 2-1, just because everybody loves betting these foreign shippers when they come in here. Kristoff, obviously very capable trainer, but this one's off a layoff. This one's got to take a step up versus this field. So just one I wanted to play against. But if the turf comes up wet, and it certainly looks like it will, definitely one to take seriously and maybe upgrade a little bit. But I still won't have her on any of my horizontals.
Jackson, it's hard to kind of play the numbers game when you're trying to compare figures from horses that are kind of coming over to the United States for the first time. However, she's been running in some races where I don't, some of these tracks are not really familiar to me. I know I'm not really super familiar with the German circuit, but when you think of European racing, you kind of think of Chantilly and Deauville and, some of the more well-known. Does that kind of strike any kind of concern that, maybe she's been limited to who she's been facing over there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. To be honest, I don't really know much about this horse. I haven't really found too much info about her, so I'm reserving the right to upgrade her later this week. If someone that I respect tells me this horse is a freaking monster, then I'll use her. Yeah. As of right now, I don't know anything about her. I don't know who she's been facing. The time form numbers have basically zero correlation with the time form numbers we have in time form US. Mm-hmm. I just completely ignore those. Yeah. So as a horse, it's going to be 5-2 and the favorite in here. I'm going to try to beat her. But again, if new information comes to light, I would upgrade her.
I think that's a good point. I would pay attention if you're in the chat to some local listings, and maybe you can get some more useful information on the 7, because certainly we don't have anything that is of special info. So we'll move on to our last race. But in race 7, I'm going 3-2-7. Ryan's going 1-6-8, and Jackson is going 8-6.
Also, I was laughing because, as Howard said, I think Ryan was trying to imply that Germany is not in Europe.
No, I think I said this was a 4.5. This is 1,000 yards is 1.5 furlong situation. I thought I said UK shipper. I definitely said Europe shipper. So hey, it's been a few years since I've taken geography, but I do remember that Germany is in Europe. So moving on. Moving on.
I'm throwing race 8 up on the screen. It's a Chick Lang 248 Eastern. Let's see, $150,000 purse, 6 furlongs on the main track for straight 3-year-olds. And we've got a big field of 11. This is another tough race. This is quite the tough double, if you ask me. Morning line favoritism is going to go to the number 8, 1-900, Flavien Prat, Tom Morley, the conditioner, who I believe is owned by our good friends at Adelphi Racing. So go ahead and check them out. I believe we are sponsored, but don't at me on that. Second choice is just to the outside in the 9 Perfect Force, Nick Juarez, Dwayne Lucas at 9-2. Oh, sorry, that's third choice. Second choice, Keep It Easy, Junior Alvarado, Dale Romans from the 6 hole at 4-1. So those are the 3 that are leading the way in terms of wagering. Picks are up now on the screen, and I am going 11-9-8. Ryan is going 4-11-3, and Jackson is going 9-11-8. So my pick of the 11 is not looking too creative as of now. But Ryan, we'll throw it back to you. You've got a price yourself in the 4 Normandy Coast at 12-1. Take it away.
Yeah, I absolutely love Normandy Coast in here. Eddie Keneally, underrated trainer, as underrated as it gets. I get that the last time, maybe the wet track moved this one up a little bit, but there's a good chance that we get some moisture in the dirt surface this weekend. But either way, I think this horse has just been rounding into form. The Gotham Stakes clearly it was over from the beginning when that one stumbled out of the gate. That being said, though, came right back. This one likes this sprint distance. I'm really looking forward to betting this one. I think Luis Saez is going to have this horse in a perfect position, probably right behind the pace, right off the pace, and is just going to kind of pounce top of the stretch. And we all know how tough it is to pass Luis Saez when he has the lead turning for home. So that's exactly where I anticipate this runner being. I think, no slight to Ben Curtis, but I think Saez is a jockey upgrade. Yes, Adelphi is a sponsor.
Yeah. Chair, if you're watching, I greatly apologize. That is a terrific man, and they've done a terrific job sponsoring our show. So I thank them again.
They certainly have. This is a class test for Normandy Coast in a way, but Long Neck Paula is a decent horse, and this one pretty much blew the doors off of her last time out, or him last time out. Long Neck Paula is a filly. Anyway, I think 12-1 is just too good of a price to pass up. Love this horse on top. You mentioned this is a tough double to play, but that's a teaser towards my best bet because I'm feeling pretty confident. Give me Luis Saez, Eddie Keneally teaming up on Normandy Coast.
Did you hear that, Jackson? Ryan brought out the L word. Hear that?
We appreciate your donation, Ryan.
All right.
Why do you say that? Is it because he beat a field of turf horses last time?
No, I just like giving him a hard time.
Yeah.
Well,
but also yes, mostly that. But
it's either
I do like giving him a hard time. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I give myself a hard time too. It's pretty enjoyable.
It's either that or the fact that there is quite a bit of speed. But hey, if he finds himself in a good spot, he could certainly win the race. And I'm not going to talk you off of
Saez doesn't find trouble.
One and Saez. Yeah, there you go. Let's go. Jackson, let's go to your top pick. Perfect Force. Ryan, I'm quite surprised that you don't have this horse.
This is ironic.
Ran 2 weeks ago in the Pat Day Mile. Just was kind of running in place. Never really was a threat. But cutting back from a mile to 6 furlongs, Ewan Lucas obviously very capable, and Ryan is cracking up because he loved this horse a couple weeks ago. But the tables have turned, my friend, to Jackson Muniz. Jackson, what do you like about the 9?
Yeah, Ryan and I had a really fun debate about this horse going to Derby Week, and I told him he was crazy because this horse has no shot going a mile. And I was right because he doesn't want to go, and he does not want distance. Look at all his races. The further he goes, the worse he runs. And he's finally cutting back to 6 furlongs. So I think it's going to be really key for this horse because his best races have all come shorter. Even the Pat Day Mile was tough for him. It was pouring at the time, if I remember correctly. The track was just a complete bog. I don't want to hold it against him too much. And then the Hot Springs race, that came against Clever Gan and came against Gaming. And he did what he does. He makes his big move on the turn. He loomed up. He was about to go right on by Gaming. And then he hit the top of the stretch. He's like, oh, I did my job. I ran my 6 furlongs. I'm calling it a day. And he kind of just faded back. So I just feel like he's a horse that's going to really thrive going the flat 6. I like where he's drawn on the outside. I think he's tactical enough to keep the front runners in the sights, get first run on the deeper closers. And I just think he's a horse that has a pretty good shot in here. He's on the improve. He could take another step forward in here if you cover up that Pat Day Mile. He's right there based on his numbers. So if he gets back to that good form, he should prior to that. I think he's a very logical contender in here, and I don't think the 2 weeks will be a problem at all with knowing Dwayne Lucas. So give me the course on top.
I will say I think the 2 weeks is a good sign. I mean, he ran a pretty much nowhere 5th in that race, but he came out good enough to run in this spot. So that is the Dwayne move where it's like, okay, well, let's run him right back. And maybe you're right. Maybe the cut back to 6 is going to do this one good. But he was he really just never picked up his feet last time, and I know there's going to be some moisture in the track, so that just kind of gave me cause for pause. But that was really funny that you picked this one on top this time.
Well, it's not an on-average. It's furlong, so
I got a kick out of that. This one.
Man. Well, we see this move pretty often with our boy Dougie Fresh. Hopefully, Shane's watching the show. But he's one of the guys out in California where he'll come back in 2 weeks, and when you see him do that, typically it's because of a cutback. And in this case, obviously, that's what this horse wants to do. He wants to run 6. He wants to go just about that sprint distance. And Dwayne Lucas does this often anyway. So no cause for concern there. And I like him pretty much just as much as you do, Jackson. I've got him in 2nd. I want to throw it back to you, Jackson, because you've got a horse that I've got on top, who I kind of think is going to be a little bit lost in the wagering, but obviously, judging by picks, that might not be the case. Third-time starter for Sharita Vo. Irad hops on because Jose, I believe, is on the 3, who we'll get to in a second. But what do you like about Retribution, Jackson?
Yeah, he's not going to be 12-1. He is the most overbet jockey in the country and arguably the most overbet trainer in the country. So he's going to be probably half of that. But I do like his chances. I like both of his races he ran thus far. The race at Fairgrounds was pretty good. It came against a pretty decent group, I thought. And then last time he tried to close, and I were over at Keeneland, he lost to Gunmetal, who I think Gunmetal is pretty good. So there's no shame in that performance. And that was only his 2nd career start for a barn that typically gets better the more they race. So I think we're going to see another step forward for this horse. I love the outside post in a race full of speed. I kind of just play the break and play some place him in a good spot. And I just think he's going to get the right kind of trip in here. He's on the improve. He'll still be a decent price in this race. And yeah, I just think there's lots to like.
I kind of want to stop the video here because he kind of found himself in a scenario where, he was just going to back up off the speed, but then he kind of, continued to get shuffled back with the dirt that was kind of thrown in his face. And then right here, you can see him kind of tipping out, but he's playing a little bumper car. As you see, there's a horse that tries to split here. And then Tip Top Thomas was also in that race. He was kind of coming over on him a little bit. And I thought he finished the race well. You can see he's running on pretty good. Like you said, Gunmetal's a nice horse, and he gallops out well. I think he just gallops out right behind Gunmetal. So I thought the race visually was a little bit better than maybe it was on paper. But even on paper, the race wasn't bad, Ryan. I mean, you've got him in second. So obviously you're thinking similarly.
Oh, no doubt. And we're not getting 12-1. 6-1 would be still pretty generous. That's around what I have at his fair value, where I would place a win bet on him if I wanted to. But seeing as all my money's going towards the 4, no, Retribution I think deserves a big look. Definitely going to be on my horizontals. Jackson nailed it. Outside stalking trip, or outside just a nice trip with IRAD. Going to be in the clear and clean this time. You mentioned in the replay, kind of got shuffled back. Pretty much at almost no risk of that happening again here with him breaking from the outside. So one I'm certainly looking forward to seeing run this weekend.
Yeah, I know Howard's a big fan of this horse, and I'll let you talk about him real quick. Howard puts in the chat, there's a ton of speed in here. Someone will close the number 3 Ancient World, I believe is what he meant to say. Slow on buyers, but not that far off on time form, and hopefully to be rolling late. The thing, I guess, that worried me, which he actually brings up, is maybe just a touch slow in terms of buyers. But, if you go back to his last race, he broke pretty bad. Let me pull that up real quick. He's the 5 in here, and you can see him there. Does not break well. The 4 also breaks pretty slow, and kind of behind the 8 ball at this point. But you can see him. He's the 5 right here, I believe, in the Rapoli colors. You can kind of see he's kind of creeping up down on the rail, looking for somewhere to go. Finally tips out a little bit green in the stretch, kind of lugging in, but still able to get the job done as I fast forward a little bit to the finish. But you guys kind of get the idea. But I guess the slight worry for me was I don't know how good those fields were. I think, if he's in the Gunmetal race, I think he runs, maybe similarly, maybe worse than Retribution. That's just a guess, Gazoon type. But thanks, I'm a little weary to take such a short price because people will see that Jose hops off the 11 and goes to the 3, and then they'll see the replay last time. I just think there are reasons to believe that he will get bet, and he might just be a too short of a price for me. Do either of you have a comment about that?
I picked this horse in 3rd, so obviously, yeah, I think that the fact that he's probably going to take a decent amount of money, I think 6-1 if he's at that price, I think that's fair. The buyers are a little light. Time forms, he needs to step up, but they're a lot closer than the buyers are. The issue with him is that he does not get out of the gate. If you have a chance to watch the debut race at Fairgrounds, holy hell, he broke like shit. But he fixed everything. He knows how to win. He got right back engaged. He went and did his job. Again, I don't know who he's faced in either of those 2 races, so I get that point. But he's done it the right way. If he gets out of the gate well on Saturday, I think he has a ton of ability. I think he has the chance to win this race and jump up huge on buyers. That being said, I couldn't pick him better than 3rd because 1, he's only 6-1. I think you are going to want at least that value, and I don't know that we're going to get that. And 2, he is going to need to step up significantly versus this class of horses. So a couple things that I need to see that he needs to prove, but in my horizontals, he's definitely going to be on my tickets because I think Ancient World has a ton of ability, and he's done nothing wrong in terms of where he's finished in his first 2 races. It's just getting out of the gate. He can't have that bad break in this race because he will not be able to win versus this caliber of horses.
Yeah, no doubt. It kind of feels like one of these 2-time or 3-time runners is going to step up big and be able to get the job done. One of those runners is the morning line favorite, actually, who's the last horse we'll touch on. Jackson, you've got him 3rd. I've got him 3rd. 1-900, 2-back, ran a 2nd with a 92 buyer, and actually lost by 7 lengths that day. Colloquial, who came back and won at Keeneland. proved that wasn't a fluke in the maiden race last time, and goes out for conditioner Tom Morley, who I believe doesn't ship a ton to Pimlico, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I didn't look it up, but I believe you. He probably doesn't. No, he's probably the horse to beat, just purely based on numbers, and he's paired up the Beyer tops. Probably supposed to improve again in this race. There's really not that much speed drawn outside of him. Perfect Force in the 11 that we talked about. They're not going to be in the lead. They're going to be close-ish, but they're not. He should probably be pretty uncontested to his outside, so he should get a good trip in here. He's just a short price for me. I think he's one that's going to take a lot of money for having Pratt, having those big numbers. And I just don't know if he's necessarily that much better than everyone else in this group. So that's why I have him in third, but definitely respect him.
Yeah, I just kind of think he's, probably the horse to beat. You can see him kind of running up the score here against some other maiden foes. This is a pretty big step up in quite the aggressive spot, I would say, because I just showed it. Tom Morley has only shipped 3 horses to Pimlico in the last 5 years, and this will be the 4th. So outside speed, I think he's certainly a threat, probably a use if you are playing some early horizontals, because I know this isn't necessarily part of the late pick 5, but probably a use. So Ryan, you got anything to finish us off?
I do. The only reason he's not in my top 3 is just Morley's numbers with maiden winners last out, and then switching off Lasix and stakes races is not great. I thought
you have a number for that.
I do. I believe it's 1 for 10,
which is percent.
That's 10%. Yeah. You said a number. I gave you a number. But yeah, again, I think he is the horse to beat. The 92 Beyers that are paired up obviously stand out on this field, but he does have a couple things to prove. Not saying he can't prove me wrong here, but that's why he's not in my top 3 and won't be on my horizontal.
The other thing is he's never really been in a fast-paced race either. Like, I know he's quick himself, but he's never really taken heat on it. You see all those blue fractions. Like, it's a legit question, a race that looks like it's pretty loaded with speed.
Yeah, there's a comment that I do want to bring up before we move on to best bets. That's from Andrew.
Our guy.
He says, "Hey guys, just hopping in, hoping keep it easy. Gets back to form here. His best is certainly good enough." I mean, yeah, the race he ran 2 back in the Ed Brown could probably get it done in here. I mean, it looks like he if he's able to sit that trip just behind the speed, he could get the job done in here. And the horse he beat on that particular day came back to win. And then they got DFS, threw him in the Fountain of Youth. Was not a good idea. Has had a break since then. And then you got Dill Romans, you got the combo of St. Elias and West Point. So a lot of good things for the number 6. Keep it easy.
Andrew, when can we see your Hong Kong Happy Valley picks? Because I am chomping at the bit to get those for tonight.
Yeah, we need those.
That's a serious question. That's not sarcasm whatsoever. I need that.
I'll just add to keep it easy. He's due for a big race because he runs a 40 Beyer and then he runs an 80, and then he runs a 40 Beyer and then he runs a 90, and then he runs a 40 Beyer. Now he's supposed to kind of run 100 on Saturday. So if you follow that trend, he's got a big shot. But he's a tricky horse.
I think it's a really good sequence of back-to-back races that we just discussed. But in race 8, I'm 11-9-8. Ryan's going 4-11-3. Jackson's going 9-11-8. Let's bring up the best bets. And actually, we're going to start with Ryan this time because he did bring out the L word. So we'll start with you, Ryan. You've got a double in a very difficult sequence of races. Race 7, you're going with the 1 Dana's Beauty and the 6 Austere, and a double into the 4. Who was it that we just talked about? Normandy Coast.
Normandy Coast.
I
realized that I missed Happy Valley because that's a Tuesday night situation. I'm used to it being Happy Valley Wednesday. Whoops. So, all right. Starting with race 7, I'm using the 1 Dana's Beauty, the 6 Austere. Both are decent prices on the morning line, but they're both, going to sit a nice trip. 6 Austere are going to be coming from a little farther out of it. But again, I think the pace is going to set up for a closer or a horse that's going to get a good trip. So I think Dana's Beauty sits the good trip. I think Austere is going to be the closer that I want in that race with Irad aboard. And that's going to go into the number 4 Normandy Coast in the Chick Lang Stakes. That's a race I'm really looking forward to. This is a bet I'm really excited for. I think you're going to get great value on all ends of it. I don't know what it'll pay for $1 in terms of your return, but I'm going to hammer this maybe, a little $20 double as I'm there on Saturday. And that should pay for the weekend because I think you're going to get prices on all 3 of these runners Normandy Coast, they're definitely going to be a big press up for me in sequences.
I think you're going to get a price on any double you play in that sequence of races. So hopefully you're able to get the job done there. Good luck to you. Jackson will bring up yours. You're all simplicity, my friend. Race 4 win bet on a number 7 Epic Ride.
Yeah, I think I found a good spot where I think I found a couple of vulnerable favorites in that race, and I think Epic Ride is just supposed to really trip out from there and have every chance when they turn for home. I mean, he's got numbers that are plenty fast enough, assuming Booth doesn't run back to those easy trip 107s that he ran 2 and 3 back. If he does, this race is history, but I'm hoping he doesn't, and I think the 5 is a bad bet as well. So I'm going with Epic Ride just to trip out in that race, and he's 5-1 more line. I'd be very happy with that. I would be happy with 7-2 to be honest. So anything above 7-2, I will be playing him to win.
I love the pick. Good luck with that. I'm going to bring mine up. And I just realized this a couple of minutes ago. Do you guys realize the issue with my?
Yeah, we didn't cover race number 5. This guy's a terrible host.
I was going to say you doubled up with a 3-5 favorite. That's my issue.
Yeah, that's also an issue. What is this guy doing?
I've got a double that doesn't exist.
Good grief.
This is race 4 and race 6 double. So I'll leave it to.
How are you employed?
I forgot that we skipped a race. All right.
I guess.
Okay, so you're doing 6-7, 50-cent pick 3 with 5. Got it.
I'm not gonna go all. I'm gonna leave it to the viewers to pick some horses.
I mean, if we're listening to this guy El Machete in the stream, yeah, I mean, I'm all about it.
This guy's down here trying to dethrone me.
That guy's my favorite. He was in the chat during our 20.
Oh, that's
we
great.
have fun.
If I'm being honest, I have no idea. So I guess if I can't play that, which I can't because that's I would move it to the 11 Retribution in what is that, race 8? That was a race we covered, right?
That was.
I hope so.
Yeah, for your sake, I hope so. You're going to be filing for unemployment.
Yeah, I'm expecting to hear a demotion here from Howard pretty soon. Maybe I'll receive a call from him after we wrap this thing up. But to go ahead and wrap this thing up, this has been episode 29 of Pacific Horse. Oh, that's actually a good point. You guys want to actually? I was on the tape Preakness show that we filmed on Tuesday. So if the viewers out there haven't checked that out, go ahead and watch that. I know it was a tape show. I think it came out like Tuesday night. So I don't have to spoil my picks there. It's spoiler. It's real creative. But who do you guys like in the Preakness?
Well, yeah, since I wasn't invited on that show, and then I guess Jackson wasn't either, so we're just
I was on that show. Sorry.
Oh. Oh shit! It was just me. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Journalism should. I mean, he lays over the field. He should run his best race. I'm gonna get a little creative and go clever again. And journalism, key them in the 1-2 spots, and I'll just key Gosger in 3rd. Just spice things up a little bit. That'll be a nice, easy try. But I mean, journalism's going to be a single on my horizontals. It's not that creative. He's the horse to beat. He's ultra consistent, and he should run his race. And now I'm hurt that I was the only one on the show that wasn't invited onto this tape Preakness show. But that's all right.
Jackson, send us off with a winner in the Preakness, please.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really deep dived yet. All I'll say is, if you like journalism, you're probably supposed to play him in the win pool because he's going to be much higher in that than he's going to be in horizontals. Horizontals will be 2-5, 3-5, whereas he might be 6-5, 7-5 ish in the win pool. Just the Preakness win pool is crazier than the Derby one for whatever reason. If the last few years are an indication, so if you do like journalism, probably where I would play him. Yeah,
I think that's a good way to end things. That'll wrap it up for us. For my wonderful co-host Ryan Anderson, who hopefully will not take flight on us, and Jackson, who struggled a bit throughout the show, but we made it. This has been your host, Noah Meagher, in episode 29 of Pacific Horseplayers, covering undercard stakes, races 4, 6, 7, and 8 on Preakness Saturday. And of course, to wrap things up, we got to sign it off. PHP out.